Hello, Math 7 students. This is Utah Middle School Math Project 4.2G on proportional and non-proportional relationships. To get started, we have a situation that says your dad has researched renting jet skis for your family vacation. He found the following two cost fee plans. Let's focus right now just on rental plan B. I'm going to be color coding and using two different colors. Rental plan B, I'm going to be doing in blue just to kind of keep things nice, neat, and organized, because down here later on we're going to be graphing both rental plans on the same set of axes. So color coding now will be helpful later on. Rental plan B is $50 per hour with no initial one-time rental fee. This is a situation and a calculation that we're really familiar with. If I'm renting for 1 hour, that's $50 per hour, which is going to be a total of $50. So if I'm renting for 2 hours at $50 an hour, that's 50 times 2, and so we would get 100 hours. Let's go backwards. If I'm renting it for 0 hours, that's going to be $50 times the 0 hours that I'm renting it, and so it makes sense that it would only be $0 if I'm renting it for 0 hours. Take a second and complete the rest of this table. These blank spaces here are for the numbers 6, 7, and 10. Pause the video until that's done. We'll come back and check our answers. We are back. Okay, 3 hours. Help me out here. 3 hours with rental plan B. How much is that going to cost, and how are you figuring that out? Thank you for getting us started, Danny. Perfect. 50 times 3, so $150. And 4 hours, Dakota? 200 because you did what? Exactly. And I don't want to forget about this column here. This column is going to be really helpful to us. So 50 times 4, that's how we got the 200. Next one, 5 hours. CJ? Great. 50 times 5, which is 250. How about 6 hours, Berkeley? 50 times 6 is 300. How about 7 hours, Hagen? And how did you get that 350? Double check. Yeah, 50 times 7. Now let's skip ahead. 10 hours. Ryan? 5. Great. $500 because 50 times 10 is $500. So I bet this one's going to be pretty easy too. What if it's X? What am I really doing as I go across that table? Jada? Yeah, X times 50, which simplifies to be X50, or even better if we write 50X. Yeah, put that number in the front, 50X. This was done beautifully. Now you're ready for your challenge. Let's look at rental plan A. Rental plan A is a $30 initial one-time rental fee plus $45 per hour. Think about what that means. I'll read it one more time. A $30 initial one-time rental fee plus $45 per hour. What I want you to do is I want you to attempt working out this spot alone. Remember, I don't want you working ahead. I just want you to fill in this spot. And I want you to fill it in with something that's erasable, because most students do this wrong. And if you do it wrong on your paper, I want you to be able to erase it. But I do think even if we do it wrong, we can learn a lot from it. So I want you to attempt it on your own. Let's go 60 seconds of visiting with your group. Probably 45 seconds, because I'll cut you off a little bit early, I'm sure. How much is it going to be for 2 hours? Talk with your groups. See if you can figure it out. Ready, set, go. You have just 15 seconds left. Okay, let's see how you did. All right, 2 hours. How much do you think it's going to be? I want to see the brave souls. I appreciate you guys being brave because I already warned you you're probably going to be wrong, right? So I appreciate that you guys are being brave and giving it a try. Chandon, get us started. That is a great attempt. It is also an incorrect answer, but I really appreciate this. Chandon, we can learn a lot from this mistake, so thank you for making this mistake. Yeah, so many hands up. I think that means that you maybe know how to do it right.
I think I do. Please.
Okay, shh. I'm going to call on the most quiet student, which is Jackson. No, it is not 105. It's close to 105, but it's not 105. How did you get 105? Maybe we can find a mistake. Do you already see it? Okay. We'll come back to that thought. Jada's raising her hand nice and quiet. Let's go to Jada, see. $60 in parentheses 2 plus $90 in parentheses 2. That is actually even more incorrect. Thank you for making that mistake. I like these mistakes. We really can learn from them. Sam might kill me with his eyes if I don't call on him right now. Sam. He's very excited about this, and he's right. I hope you guys are listening. Okay. Voices off. Like I said, sometimes if you're a little bit overconfident, you're going to miss some important information. So eyes on the screen. Let's take a look at the mistake that Chandon made and tie it into what Sam is trying to explain to us. 30 times 2 plus 45 times 2. Because he said here it was 30 times 1 and 45 times 1, and this is 1 hour. So it makes sense. Except when we read it, it says a $30 initial one-time rental fee. If it's a one-time rental fee, how many times am I going to be paying it? One time. So what Sam explained is this $30 one-time rental fee is paid one time. So if I rent it for 1 hour, I still have to pay the $30 fee. And if I rent it for 2 hours, I still have to pay the $30 fee, but I only have to pay that $30 fee just once. And we're not done. We still are renting it for some hours. So it's $45 times 2 for our 2 hours. Do you see the difference there? Okay. So we're not multiplying the 30 by 2 because the 30 we paid just one time. So what is this? 30 times 1, which is 30. 45 times 2, which is 90. And 90 plus 30 is 120. Got it? Okay. To really help us understand this, let me explain this one-time fee thing, okay? I need voices off and I even need pencils down so that I know that you're listening. I'll say that again. Voices off and pencils down. As in pencils dropped onto your desk. There it is. Thank you. We don't need to drop them multiple times. We just need to put them down. Thank you. One-time rental fee. Let's say that Steven wants to rent some jet skis, and he finds this company, so he calls them and he's like, hey, I'm going to be down on Saturday. I'm going to rent some jet skis. Will you hold them for me? And they're like, yeah, sure. No problem. See you Saturday. Okay? And then Jada goes to that shop on Saturday. She wants to rent jet skis. And they're like, no, sorry, we're out. She's like, you're not out. I see one right there. Like, oh, no, Steven's coming for that one. Okay, fine. So Jada has to go without because we're holding that one for Steven. And then Luke comes by and he says, I want to rent that jet ski. They're like, we can't, we're out. No, you have that one right there. I can see it. Oh, that's okay. That one's for Steven. Steven's coming by later. So now Jada didn't get one. Luke didn't get one. And then guess what happens? Steven never shows up. I know, right? Okay. So that company, did they lose some money? Yeah, they lost money because they turned Jada away because they were expecting Steven. They turned Luke away because they were expecting Steven. And did Steven ever show up? No. So companies will do this to protect themselves. So now when Steven calls and he says, will you hold that for me on Saturday? I'll be there Saturday. They're like, yeah, sure. You got to pay us $30 right now. And he's like, okay. So he pays over the phone with his credit card. He's paid his $30. So now when Jada calls, I'd like to rent that jet ski. Oh, we can't. It's for Steven. And now when Steven doesn't ever show up and they've turned Jada away, did they lose anything really? No, because they still got their money from Steven, right? So companies will do this to protect themselves. And if Steven already had to pay $30, do you think he's probably going to show up? Yeah, because he's already paid some money, so he may as well get his use out of it. So although this might seem like a weird situation, it honestly happens a lot. It happens in honestly almost every situation. Like when you're buying concert tickets and you want to buy your 5 concert tickets and they're each $50, but then you have to pay a $40 processing fee. Or when you pay your monthly cell phone bill, but you still had to pay for your actual cell phone, right? So all of these one-time fees, they're called different things like initial fee, processing fee, setup fee, startup fee, all sorts of things. But we do encounter this a lot. So with that in mind, let's see if we can fill out the rest of that table. We're going to do the same thing here, 6, 7, and 10. Let's do one more together. 3 hours. We still have our $30 one-time fee, but now it's $45 times 3 hours. So this is going to be $165. Go ahead and work with your groups to complete the rest of that table. Again, I've used 6, 7, and 10 here. We're going to do X all together as a group. We're going to do that part together. So I want you to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Online learners, pause the video until you have completed that, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and then we'll finish the rest of it together. I should have taken the time and filled all of these out while you guys were working on it. So it'll take me just a second to get caught up, but I want you guys to help me answer these questions. 4 hours, how much is that going to be? Thank you, Liz. 210. 5 hours, how much is that going to be? Thank you, Miley. 255. 6 hours, how much is that going to be? Thank you. Who have I not called on yet? Thank you, Trinity. Great. And 7 hours, what's that going to be? Brian? Nope. I think you jumped a little bit too high. We should be typing in 30 times 1 plus 45 times 7 into our calculator. Let's go to Savannah. Yep, 345. How about 10? I think that's the question that you answered, Brian. You answered that question. So, Brian, what's 10? You're close. So 30, that would be how much it is for 10 hours, but then we also have to pay our $30 one-time fee. So 450 plus the 30 would be $480 here. Okay, let's have some fun. What if we're renting it for 0 hours? How much are we paying? You might think 0, but think about Steven. Steven called and he rented it and they said, yeah, that'll be $30. And then when he doesn't show up, how much did he have to pay still? He still had to pay that $30. It's not 0 because they're charging that initial fee. So even if you don't show up, they're still collecting money from you. Okay? So now let's figure out X. Do you notice something in this one? 1 hour, so we multiplied the 45 by 1. 2 hours, we multiplied the 45 by 2. 3 hours, we multiplied the 45 by 3. 10 hours, we multiplied the 45 by 10. So what do you think that's going to be here for X? Give it a try, Jackson. Perfect. You have it. And then we would simplify this and get rid of some of the unnecessary stuff. Like what's 30 times 1? Just 30. And so in the simplified one, it would just be 30 plus the 45x. Nice and easy. All right, that's the hard part. The hard part's done. Now it's time to graph. When we graph, we need to graph both of them here on the same grid, and we need to label the axes. So let's start by labeling the axes. This one we remember is our x-axis. This one is our y-axis. What should I be putting on the x-axis? Ooh, yikes. There we go. What's our first column? The first column tells us what our x-axis should be. CJ? Hours. So we're going to be measuring our time in hours here, which tells me that our next column, we actually have kind of an extra column here where we did our calculations. So I really mean this column. So this is our X column. This one would our Y column. So we were going to label that Y-axis, the cost in dollars. And now, because I want all of our graphs to look the same, we need to decide on a scale. So when I'm looking at the time in hours, how should I be counting that time in hours? Especially looking at our table, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what is a good way to count or scale that graph? Emma? By ones. I like it. So let's label that ones. We're going to start here at 0. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, let's look at the cost in dollars. Do you see how high up I should probably try and go? I've got costs about $480, $500. So I want to try and get all the way up to 500. And I've done this problem enough times I know how to do that. But let me give you a quick little sneak peek here. If I want this to be right around the 500 mark, let's count how many lines there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I've got to go all the way up to 500. I'm kind of trying to break it up into 20 pieces. So what is that going to be? 500 broken up into 20 pieces. Hagen? 25s. Yeah. So we're going to count by 25s. It's a great way to kind of judge your scale if you know how high up you want to go, and you can kind of count to see what the spacing is. Now, the challenge with this is if I'm counting by 25, so I've got 25, 50, 75, 100, these numbers are going to work really, really nicely for all of these ones. They'll fit nicely on all those crosshairs. Not as nice here. That's okay. We're just going to make it work. It's going to be kind of like the Mario and Luigi problem yesterday, where we just have to kind of do our best and guess where those numbers are going to fall on that grid. Jada? We could go by 50, but it's going to squish the graph a little bit too much, and so I think it's better to go by 25s. You can go by 50. I just think that for this being our first one that we're doing together, I want to see as much information as we can. Okay. Now I'm lazy, so I'm not going to go 25, 50, 75, 100. I'm now going to skip one and go up to 150 and continue that process. Yes, Trinity. No, on a test or something like that, I wouldn't dock points unless I can't see very much of the graph at all. If I can still see most of the graph based on the scale you chose, then that would be fine. If I can't see 1 point, I'd get over that 1 point. It'll be fine. Good question. And now we're ready to graph some points. Again, I color-coded the tables because I'm going to color-code the graphs to make these points easy to identify. We'll start with the nice, easy ones here in blue And I'm not going to talk through the process beyond the first problem. The first one is over 1 hour, up $50. So I'm going to go over 1 and up 50. I did forget one. Remember this one that's all the way back at the very beginning? Over 0, up 0. You guys good to finish that graph on your own? Okay, let's do that. We can do it silently. If you need to check in with your group, you can. If you need to check on the board where you can see I'm doing it, that's okay too. Now pause in what you're doing, eyes on the screen. I'm going to switch over and start graphing red because I graphed the blue ones pretty quick. So I'm going to graph these next ones and I'll give you guys time to actually finish it. Let's look at this first point. Over 0 for 0 hours. How much am I still paying with rental plan A? Nope, $30. So that's going to be the first point I graph. Over 0 and up. Now there isn't a 30, but there's a 25. So I'm going to go a little bit higher than that 25. And that, Jada, is another reason why it would be better to count by the 25s. It just gives me a little bit more precision when I'm trying to graph some of those weirder points. The next one, and then I'll be quiet, over 1 and up 75. Over 1, up 75. The rest of them, go ahead and graph on your own. I'll graph them quietly. I actually shouldn't have plotted those points because they weren't part of our table. I know where they would be, but they weren't part of it. All right, online learners, if you need more time, please pause the video. Make sure that you continue the video only when you've finished graphing your points. All right, let's return to our table for a second. We saw something interesting, if you noticed, that at 6 hours with rental plan A, that's going to be 300, and 6 hours rental plan B, they're both going to be 300. So what did we see happen on our graph when we were plotting those points? You see how I have a red and a blue overlapped there? Yeah, because both of them are the same. Now to really make this clear, I'm actually going to connect these with a line using a nice straight edge. For you guys, that would be like a nice straight edged ruler or something. Or if you have a protractor at your table. Oops. And I'm also going to color code those. So give me a second to do that. This one's the blue one. And this one's the red one. What do you see happening with those graphs at that 6 hours? Do you see now that we've drawn those lines? Do you see how they're intersecting and then crossing over? Kind of interesting, right? We saw that in the beginning, it was cheaper to use the blue company, rental plan B. But then in the end, which one is lower and therefore cheaper? The red one, right? And we can see that in the table too. At 10 hours, which one is cheaper? A. We probably didn't expect that in the beginning when we saw how expensive it was. Okay, that is it for today. We're going to continue this tomorrow. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.